What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Raptors Report. It is time to talk about the Toronto Raptors young players because the Summer League is officially over, and I want to set some realistic expectations. So, what are my expectations for some of the younger players for the Toronto Raptors heading into next season? And of course, we'll talk about Summer League as well and what I thought of their performance. So, if you're ready to watch this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and the shout out for today's video goes out to Larry Conley. So, Larry, thank you so much for supporting this channel through your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. Now, let's talk about the ninth overall pick for the Toronto Raptors, who played in the Summer League, missed a game due to a left abductor strain. That is quite an uncomfortable injury to be dealing with. Not that any injury is comfortable while playing through it, but Colin Murray-Boyles did have himself a decent summer league, and we'll talk about his expectations in just a moment. But my expectations for Colin Murray-Boyles coming into the summer league was good defense, a little bit of his struggle on the offensive side, good passing skills that he'll display, and his rebounding ability. And overall, I thought his game was pretty good. Not bad, not great, because there were at times that which left more to be desired for someone like Colin Murray-Boyles. You wanted a little bit more aggression. You also wanted him to command and be a little bit more assertive. But for Colin Murray-Boyles, someone as grounded as he is, someone who is as humble as he is, you have to understand that it is not easy being as young as he is and coming even into the summer league and to be demanding, assertive. It sometimes rubs players the wrong way, especially considering how many second-year players the Raptors had coming in. So again, I know from a fan's point of view, absolutely everyone will tell you you wanted him to be a little bit more aggressive. You want the ball in his hands a little bit more, but this is what Summer League is all about, especially with sophomore players. You'll see a lot of guys kind of looking out for their own shot. But overall, Colin Murray-Boyles, I thought, had a decent Summer League. You know, he scored at points. He displayed a lot of positive things in terms of rebounding, defense, and just having a positive impact on the court. And you saw the impact of when he wasn't on the court. That is when his impact was really felt, because the Raptors would let a lot of points, right? There was several games where he was box plus minus was amazing with him on the floor. And when he was off the floor, it definitely was not. So Colin Murray-Boyles, obviously, you know, he has a lot of tools he needs to work on in terms of his offensive game. It was quite impressive when he did have that big game in terms of his offensive output, but just a little bit more. There's always more to be desired from a fan's point of view, but we are going to require a lot of patience heading into the season, because I said this before and I still do believe so, that you're going to need a lot of patience with Colin Murray-Boyles, because yes, his shot isn't great. He's going to need to continue to work on that, but overall, his isolation game needs some work as well. In terms of his defense, however, the defense did look impressive. It did look good. His rebounding ability was good, and he just seems to make the right plays, which is super important for a team like the Toronto Raptors. And I think the realistic expectations that we should set for someone like Colin Murray-Boyles is going to be someone that can give you quality minutes, but also not to expect too much out of Colin Murray-Boyles, to keep the expectations a little bit subpar, right? He's going to have some games that are impressive and people are going to go crazy having set the bar higher and higher every time he does that. But he's also going to have games which may frustrate a lot of people, where he might just score 7 points and not score as much as you ideally want him to. But it is nice to have Colin Murray-Boyles for someone that provides size, and most importantly, really gives you some relief minutes for Scotty Barnes, where you know the drop-off isn't going to be massive in the defensive impact, because Colin Murray-Boyles is going to play solid defense. He plays physical as well. And again, hopefully he's a lot more healthier come during the regular season. And look, there's still time as well for him to work on a lot of things during practice, during the rest of the summer as well. So I do think for Colin Murray-Boyles, I do expect him to be someone that's going to really run the bench unit, right? Essentially what the Raptors kind of did or should have done, in my opinion, with Scotty Barnes into his rookie season, was kind of let him run the second unit. He's going to have Grady Dick there. He's going to have Jacoby Walters there as well. So he's going to have a lot of shooters around him, a lot of floor spacing. So it'll be exciting to see Colin Murray-Boyles get a lot of assists, get a lot of rebounds, but also he opens up the floor for him to attack the basket as well. So again, personally, I'm pretty excited about Colin Murray-Boyles. I do want to say though, for the sake of, you know, not bashing rookies, do keep your expectations a little bit low, because I feel like a lot of fans in any fan base you'll find in sports get a little bit too excited on the great games and then get disappointed when, you know, the expectations that are insanely high aren't met because you set those expectation bars really, really high. But that's Colin Murray-Boyles, and that's my expectations of him. Let's move on to some of the other players as well. Now, moving on to player number 2 here, Jamal Shead. Now, Jamal Shead was having a very, very great, in my opinion, summer league. Yeah, I know people are going to question his shooting and, you know, all sorts of other offensive impacts that he could have had a little bit more. But there was some things that I didn't like about Jamal Shed, particularly the few games I did watch with Jamal was the fact that him and Jacoby kind of just played a two-man game here where they're just were looking for their own shot and passing it back and forth to each other. And look, I get it from their point of view as well, right? Like imagine you and your friend play pickup basketball and it's you and your friend playing with a bunch of guys that you may not be familiar with. But this is not street ball. This isn't pickup basketball. This is professional basketball, even if it is just summer league. And you expect a little bit more from Jamal Shed, a little bit more ability to distribute the ball. Again, that's not to say obviously he had a great game last game, but oftentimes he would look for his shot quite a bit. That was my main concern with him is you want him to move the ball a little bit more. And just his shooting concerns are always going to be a concern for me personally. If you ask me, his defense is great, but his shooting is going to be a concern. He did shoot the three-point ball exceptionally well. And in the NBA, you really, really do need that. But it does give the Raptors a nice option in terms of having different types of point guards because Emmanuel quickly can shoot the three-point ball really well, but he's not a great facilitator. Whereas Jamal Shed, I feel like he can distribute a lot better than he displayed. He just chose to kind of play a little bit too much ISO basketball, but overall his defensive impact was felt. He just played bully. I don't want to say bully basketball, but just grinded his nose in there. Just on the defensive impact, you could see it. Just get a lot of steals. Just really tire out the other opposing players, guards as well. So that was really nice to see with Jamal Shed. In terms of his expectations coming into the season, should be realistically play 15 minutes a game. You don't want to play him too much either. You don't want to play him 30 minutes a game. But given Emmanuel Quickly's injury history, it might just be the case. But Jamal Shed's just going to be someone that can come in, play really hard-nosed defense. It's going to be frustrating to play against because of his defensive abilities. But on the offensive side, I do have some concerns. I do think that three-point shot should be a little bit better considering you'll be playing against better players as well. Obviously, the competition level also goes up. But in terms of his defense, it's going to be there. My big question for him should be how much can he provide in those 15, 17 minutes a game he's going to play at the backup position, right? Forget the offense. I just want him to focus a little bit more on ball distribution because of the players that he will be playing with. Like I said, with Colin Murray Boyles, Grady Dick, Jacoby Walter as well. So that's my expectations. I'm not too high on Jamal Shed. I mean, he's going to have some really good games like he did in his last summer league. But overall, I expect him to play decently. He's going to be a quality bench player who's going to play good minutes and be a positive on the court as well. Now let's move on to our third player here. Jacoby Walter had some few games which just looked very impressive on the offensive side, but there are a lot of questions regarding Jacoby Walter's shooting percentages. Because as good as he looked in those few games where he had a great offensive game, overall, when you look at his stats, he did shoot 37% from the field, which isn't great. And most importantly, he's a good three-point shooter, but despite that, he shot only 27% on it wasn't two attempts a game. It wasn't three attempts a game. It wasn't four. It was on 8 attempts from the three-point line. And we know he is capable of so much more. I know people are very, very high on Jacoby Walter, and that's not to say that I am not. I do like his game, but people do need to set the expectations a little bit lower because they're expecting him to essentially come in and take over Grady Dick's minutes. The reason being is he is a good defensive player, and he displayed a lot of that. He played a very good defense, and you like to see that from your younger guys. You don't want him to focus entirely on just the offensive game. You do want them to show a little bit more on the defensive side as well, which is why I believe one of the reasons is that a lot of people have him over Grady Dick is because of his ability to play defense, and Grady Dick doesn't do that very well. But in terms of Jacoby Walter, the one area I do want to see him improve on, and I wish we got the chance to see it a little bit more, is just ball distribution, right? As a guard, yes, it's great if he can shoot the three-point ball. It's great if he can play defense, but to be able to find your other teammates as well, that's the most important thing, right? Especially in a system which requires a lot of ball movement and just considering who, again, I'll keep saying it time and time again, with who you're going to be playing with guys like Colin Murray Boyles, who's going to be a good passer. You also need to pass the ball as well, not just look for your own shot. So that's where there's a little bit more left to be desired with Jacoby Walter and just his ability to be in ISO score, but also just his ball handling skills as well. You want a little bit more. In terms of his expectations heading into next season, I expect him to average about 10 points a game. He's going to shoot the three-point ball a lot better, guys. We know this. He's not a 27% three-point shooter. You're going to see a lot of good defense, which is great to see in considering he's going to be playing with Grady Dick. With all due respect to Grady Dick, he's not going to be a good defensive player. So you kind of need good defense around him. And Jacoby's going to do just that, but also just in terms of scoring as well. He's going to probably realistically put up 10 points. And again, there's going to be a lot of players, especially off the bench, that are going to look to score. So it's going to probably limit his stats in that department just because you got Grady Dick there. You got Colin Murray Bowles who's going to look to score as well. And then you got Mamu as well, right? So let's not forget about him. So with the shooters that he's going to be working with off the bench, he's going to be playing with some starters as well. You want the ball distribution to be a lot better, not a little bit better, a lot better, especially from the guard play as well. So that's my expectations from Jacoby, is to play good defense, average about 10 points a game, maybe a point more, and probably get around 2 rebounds, 1.6 steals a game, and then again his assist column, I want that to be a little bit more, but I don't know how much responsibility he's realistically going to have in terms of ball distribution. So overall, I do think he's going to have a nice season, but we do need to set the bar a little bit lower based on what I've been hearing from a lot of Raptors fans. Is they're quite high on him, which is great. You want to be excited about young players, but just set the bar a little bit lower on him, because I honestly feel like Grady Dick is going to have a little bit of a better offensive season than Jacoby Walter. All right, let's move on to our next player here. This is Chucky Hepburn. This was someone I was anticipating to come in and play way better than he did in the summer league. And I'm going to give, if I could give these guys a grade, I would honestly give him an F, because he just had a terrible summer league. He displayed a lot of flashes of what he could potentially become and what he's capable of becoming, but there's just so many areas of his game which were really frustrating, especially on the offensive side. We'll get to his defense in just a minute, but Chucky Hepburn was just very, very not it's one thing to be, shooting up the ball, but it just genuinely felt like he just did not want to shoot at all. And there's so much to his game where he is capable of that, which really made me question why he wasn't taking as many shots. Maybe it's the coaching strategy. Maybe the coach wanted him to play a certain way, and just given, he was playing off the bench and he was playing very limited minutes. Maybe that was the strategy going into the summer league, where they didn't want him to shoot as much, but I wanted him to take a few more shots and be a lot more confident in his shooting ability and his scoring ability as well. But in terms of some of the positives, in terms of Chucky Hepburn, he did display a good, amount of passing ability. His distribution was great. His floor vision was great, which is something I expected. But it really did impress me how he was able to find a lot of his teammates. Even some of the passes were really nice. I did not anticipate him to make those passes, because they were a little bit harder on the skill of finding his teammates through some of the defenders. So he did do a good job of that. And he did also do a very good job on the defensive side as well. This is something I talked about, prior to the summer league, was what can you expect from Chucky, is to play very just annoying defense, right? Like, I'm not comparing him to TJ McConnell, but when you look at those kind of players, they're just very, very frustrating to play against. And that was how he was playing defense. He was getting balls, loose balls, stripping players, drawing fouls as well. So again, I'm very, very disappointed offensively, particularly in the scoring department. Shooting department, he just really, really struggled. In terms of his expectations going into next season, he's probably going to spend a lot of time in the Raptors 905. I don't expect him to see any minutes realistically with the big club unless injuries do happen. But again, I probably see Elijah Martin a little bit higher on, the a little bit higher in terms of who's likely going to get minutes. If Emmanuel quickly gets hurt, and you got Jamal Shed playing the starting guard position, I definitely see Elijah Martin getting a lot more minutes. But Chucky left a lot to be desired in the summer league. Maybe that was the nerves. Maybe it was a little bit more assertiveness you would have liked to see, especially coming in as a more older player. You would have anticipated he'd be a little bit more ready for the summer league, but he really wasn't. All right, and our next player here is Ulrich Homche. He had quite the impressive defensive impact on the Raptors. When you saw him, I was really worried about his injury coming into the summer league, because I had felt like maybe it set him back a little bit. I wasn't anticipating him to have an impact on the defensive side the way he did. He was just a great rim protector. He blocked a lot of shots. I believe he averaged close to 2.6 blocks per game in the summer league, which was nice. He rebounded fairly well. But on the offensive side, my frustrations with Ulrich, and again, it's not so much frustration because he's still young, he's still quite raw, was just the fact that he just would not dunk the ball. He just kind of throw up these random layups, and he would try to do a hook shot, but it wasn't really like a good hook shot. It kind of just felt like it's almost like you play pickup basketball, but it was kind of like he would just throw it up with his hand, and you kind of just question his shot selection a lot on the offensive side, but just his hands as well. There's a lot of passes, easy passes he had from Jamal Shed, which just seemed to bounce out of his hands, or the other opposing defenses would just strip the ball very easily. So that is one aspect of him I would like to see him improve. The one thing I will say about Ulrich is he will spend not spend some time. I do expect him to spend a decent amount of time down in the Raptors G League as well. maybe we do see maybe about 10, 15 games in the Raptors, big club there. I do ideally want him to spend a little bit more time there practicing against Jakob Poeltl. Playing against Mamu in practices does a lot for him as well. But I would like to, at one point, see him play a lot of minutes with a big club. Good experience for him. It'll give him experience in playing against bigger bodies and become a lot more physically stronger as he grows into his body, but also becomes a lot more physically stronger. In terms of his expectations, again, I don't anticipate a lot in terms of rebounding. I do think his rebounding could get a little bit better as well. His shot blocking is great. That's just going to continue to improve. Offensively, he does need to work on some sort of shot, whether that's a 3-point shot. Realistically, I don't see him working on post moves, just given the way the NBA is now. You just want your big man to be able to shoot. If he's able to develop a jump shot, that would be amazing. But realistically, it would be nice if we could get him shooting any sort of 3-point shots and just really working on that shot and maybe the shot mechanics as well, just to kind of accelerate his progress on the offensive side. All right, moving on to Elijah Martin as well. He did not shoot the ball very well from the field overall. I was actually anticipating a little bit better offensive talent. He did have some moments, however, where just, obviously the dunks were great, don't get me wrong, but just in terms of isolation scoring as well, you want a little bit more, right? Elijah Martin, I was hoping for a little bit more. Again, the facilitating isn't there. That was one of his weaknesses coming into the draft as well. So I'm not really surprised at that. It was, again, there was a lot left to be desired, but in terms of the positives, in terms of Summer League, what I did like about him was the energy he brought. There was a game where the Raptors were really struggling, and what did he do? He really gets up there for some of the defensive rebounds because the Raptors were giving up a ton of offensive rebounds, and he just got those rebounds and ran with the ball, which is nice to see because that is something you want from some of your younger players. It's just to get the ball and run and create opportunities like that when defenses aren't set. So he is someone that's look, he's got his limitations, he's got his limitations overall, but he did display a lot of maturity out there when he did play. He was playing physical, he was getting a lot of rebounds. He was just really attacking the basket when he needed to as well. But just overall, I do think his defense is great as well because of his physicality and how NBA ready his body is. I do think that he's going to be able to see some minutes. Probably realistically around anywhere from 12 to 18 games with the Toronto Raptors. I do want him to spend some time in the G League as well. And again, like some of the other guys, just really become comfortable playing against different talent. Obviously, the talent at the G League is going to be a lot better than college competition. So it'll be nice to see him kind of grow his game there. But realistically, again, I don't expect him to get a ton of minutes, even if he does play realistically about 5, 6, 7 minutes a game. He's going to be someone that's going to be brought in for energy, maybe throws down a big dunk or two to really get the players riled up and excited and really honestly just be an energy player off of the bench. And folks, I know this video is running long. We are almost done. We got about two more players. The next player here we're talking about is Jamison Battle. Jamison Battle, just look, he's someone that's he's not going to play, he's not going to score 20 points a game for you. He's also not going to score 2 points a game unless he plays like 5 minutes a game. But he's someone that's, mature. He's someone that's going to be someone that's steady and someone that you can rely on to hit 3-point shots, but also just play the game the right way. And that's essentially what he did in the summer league as well, which is just space the floor for you guys. Doesn't try to do too much. He'll, get the rebounds. He'll hit the jump shots when he can. He'll attack the basket if he can, or if the lane is open. But Jamison Battle is such a simple player. He's one of those players that aren't admired a lot around the NBA because he knows his role. He doesn't try to do too much and he understands his role and he plays within that system, which is just really, it's hard to explain, but there are so many different types of players, especially some of the players coming in, into the NBA that try to either do too much or they're not assertive enough. He seems to be very confident in his 3-point shot, and rightfully so. He shot the 3-point ball really well last season. I expect that to continue, and his expectations off of the bench is going to be very, very I would say someone that's probably the eighth, ninth man off the bench, but he will play consistent minutes, and he's going to give you good quality minutes on the offensive side as well. In terms of defense, I thought his defense could be a little bit better. Considering this is his second season, this was only summer league as well. I did anticipate his defense to be a little bit better, but just again, it wasn't great from what I saw. It was decent at times, but it just seemed to get blown by a few times there. But overall, Jamison Battle is going to be someone that's going to be fighting for minutes with Grady Dick and Jacoby Walter, just because we have a lot of guards, and they'll be very, very fascinating to see how Darko uses these guys, right? Because realistically, off the bench, you got Grady, Jacoby, and you got Jamison Battle. But is he going to be prioritized over the other two guys, given where those guys are selected and their age as well? So that'll be something interesting to note. But I do believe he's a little bit more NBA ready than some of our younger players as well. But I do like Jamison Battle. He's within his game, doesn't die, doesn't, it's not the fanciest style of basketball, but he is such a nice player because if he needs if he needs to shoot the 3-point ball, he will. He knows when to shoot it, and he hits them at a good percentage as well. And he's a player that will complement some of your other starters and your bench players as well, which is just really nice to see. And again, for Jamison Battle, I'm gonna set the point total at about, I'm going to say 11 points per game. Just shoot about 38% from the 3-point line, shooting about six threes a game. So we'll see how many minutes he gets. That's my big concern with him, fighting for minutes. Or is he going to play at the power forward position? And let's not forget Ochai Agbaji as well, who I didn't mention, obviously, in terms of the guys that will be coming off the bench. So we'll see how many minutes he gets. But I really do like Jameson Paddle. And last but not least, we got Jonathan Mogbo here. Jonathan Mogbo actually played great in the first couple games. He played within his game. He dunked a lot of, balls that he got, which is good because, I mean, that's the strength of his game. Strict to your strengths. His defense was good. Look, he provides size, for a Raptors team, especially in the summer league that doesn't have a lot of size. He can play small ball lineup. He moves quite well on the defensive side. His defense is always going to be very, very decent, I don't want to say very good because he's not a lockdown defender, but pretty respectable, right? To say the least. In terms of his offensive game, look, his offensive game is just very limited. I'm sorry, there's no sugarcoating it. He can dunk the ball, that's great. He'll hit your occasional threes, but he's not going to be a high volume 3-point shooter, realistically. I'm very interested about his expectations coming into next season because we got Colin Murray Boyles at the 4, who obviously we're going to prioritize over Jonathan Mogbo. We got Mamu Kemishveli at the center position. We can definitely see Jonathan Mogbo playing the 3 at times. It would not surprise me. But again, just I'm very, very curious as to see how Darko is going to distribute the minutes amongst, Ochai Agbaji, amongst Jonathan Mogbo, and, with Jameson Battle there as well, Jacoby Walter, all those guys as well. Grady realistically is going to be the 2, so we don't need to worry too much about that. But yeah, Jonathan Mogbo, I don't know. I don't mean to be disrespectful towards him. He's a nice player. He's a very humble guy. Seems like a nice human being. But realistically, I just don't see Jonathan Mogul being on the Raptors roster for more than another, season and a half, maximum 2 seasons. So his expectations, he's just going to come and play good defense. Like he'll average 7 points a game, 4 rebounds, 5 rebounds a game. He'll get you 1 steal, maybe, 1.3 blocks a game. But maybe hit a 3 or so, but I don't expect a lot from Jonathan Mogul. Not because I dislike him, guys. I don't dislike him. I just have this bar, honestly, just set offensively, anyways, very low for him. I don't expect a ton from him. He has those limitations. I don't know if he's going to grow a ton at this stage of his career. I know it's only his second season, but with certain players, you can kind of just tell their game's going to be very limited and it's not going to improve a lot. Similarly to how Precious was, right? I really did like Precious, and I don't even see the ceiling being that. So again, no disrespect to Jonathan Mogbo. His summer league was good. It wasn't bad, but again, he has such limitations on the offensive side. You can't really be critical of, someone because I mean, it is what it is. What are you going to tell the guy to shoot more threes, right? So Jonathan Mogul is a nice player, but again, I'm not expecting too much. He's going to be a quality bench piece. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get. I can't even sit here and tell you he's going to be a 6, 7, 8th man off the bench because I don't know where he's going to be unless Darko has favoritism. So we'll see what happens. But these are my thoughts on all of these players, guys. I know the video has run very, very long, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you agree with my assessment of the Summer League and what their expectations are heading into next season. So that will be it for today's video. And of course, I do have a trivia question for you today. And the trivia question for today is, which of these players played college basketball for Ohio? Was it A. Jamal Shed? Was it B. Jamison Battle? Was it C. Jonathan Mogbo? Or was it D. Jacoby Walter? So whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have yourselves a great day.